Hello, welcome to Norwegian Newcomers, the podcast where we hear about fragments from the lives of Norway's immigrant population. Today, my guest is Johanna. Johanna, welcome. I'm glad that you are here today, and since we met recently at our mutual friend dinner, I knew it immediately, after talking a little bit, that I want to have you in this podcast and to hear more about you and your story. So for our listeners at the beginning, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
So hi, I'm happy to be here, Vedrana. Thank you for inviting me. So I'm Johanna. I'm from Austria, born and raised in Vienna. I'm 44 years old and I've been living in Norway for about 7 years now. So we moved here in 2013. I'm married. I have a little son. He's 5 years old, born in Oslo. And yeah.
And he's Norwegian, Austrian. He's Norwegian-born Austrian.
Yeah, it's more complicated than that. We are three, so we are a family of three. I'm Austrian. My husband is from Serbia. He's from Belgrade, and my son, he's everything, right? He's born in Oslo. He has an Austrian passport. His first language is Norwegian. His German is fluent, but of course, he's as much also Serbian. We're a mix now.
That's nice. Tell me, Johanna, a little bit about your life in Vienna. How that looks.
Before I moved here, so I was raised in Vienna. I went to school there, studied. I started business, international business. And when I was a young grown-up, I started traveling a lot. So I started working abroad. I worked in Germany, in the US actually. Okay. I started in Italy before that. So I always had a passion for moving abroad and traveling. So I wasn't in Vienna that much, especially after in 2006, I moved to Croatia to work there for my Austrian employer. And then I moved to Serbia, afterwards to Macedonia, Northern Macedonia, as it's called now. Yeah. And so I was an expat in other countries for many years of my life. But I always had my apartment in Vienna. And my life in Vienna was great, urban, young, grown-up with single income, no kid, and lots of friends, arts, culture, parties, being out. So had a very nice life.
But from all those places that you lived, do you have any? Do you have favorite towns or countries?
Actually, not. I think I like to discover new places. I like to travel or to live in new places, especially to live in new places. To me, there's nothing more exciting than to move to a new place, find your home there, find your daily routines there, and combining your own habits with habits at that particular place, and also experiencing the atmosphere of a new place. So when I look back, I have, of course, best memories of Belgrade. That's a town I fell in love with. But I equally have the good memories of Skopje, where I lived, or Munich, Washington, D.C., or even Frankfurt, which was just a work stunt there, and it was not maybe the most exciting place for me to live. I have fond memories. And Rome, of course, where I studied for over a year. Yeah. So there's not one favorite place, because every place is particular and has a particular feeling about it. Yeah.
How old you were when you started traveling or working, related to work?
Yeah, just in my late 20s, I'd say, with my first job. Yeah.
Okay, so we can say that now you had almost 20 years of traveling experience.
So it's half my life. Yeah. But I was always based in Vienna. That was my home, and I had my apartment there, my family is there, my friends are there, and I was going abroad to study, coming back, going abroad to work as an expat, coming back, going abroad to work as a consultant on foreign projects, but coming back. So I was traveling a lot, but I never left Vienna. I always had my base there. So my home was always Vienna, right? And also when I was an expat, I worked a lot for Austrian companies abroad. Mm-hmm. So that was very different to when we then moved to Norway. I moved with everything to Norway. Now I have no residence in Vienna. I really moved with my life. I'm employed here. I pay my tax here. I save for my pension here. I have my health insurance here. So that is the big difference between what I did before, traveling for a limited amount of time and then moving definitely abroad to Norway.
How it happens? How you ended Norway? Was it?
So why did I end up in Norway?
Yeah.
That's it was very unexpected because it was not my idea. So I met my boyfriend, he's now my husband, in 2012, and he's from Belgrade, and I was at that time back in Vienna. And I was actually at a point in time where I said, I've traveled so much. Now Vienna is my home. I'm really happy here. I just don't want to move anymore. I'm kind of settling in Vienna now. But as life goes, I went for the very last time, I thought so, to Belgrade to attend the wedding of a very close friend. She got married in Belgrade. And so I went there, and since I had a whole weekend to fill, so I called some girls. I knew them from a yoga workshop in Istanbul in Turkey. So it was completely random. So I met them, and then they were common friends with my now husband. And so we met going out, and then, it just happened. So suddenly, instead of being the last time in my life in Belgrade, I suddenly had a boyfriend in Belgrade. And he, being an architect, he saw that the situation in the Balkans was not really looking good for architects, the professional situation. So he was thinking of moving to Norway. And the only thing I thought is like, oh no, God, no. Now I'm staying in Vienna. I'm not moving to the Nordics. And I was not even so interested in Scandinavia. I liked the southern countries much more, or Asia. I was very much interested in Asia, actually, at that time. But I really liked him, and I really wanted to be together with him. So I supported his wish and said, okay, I can also check if I can find a job in Norway. And then if so, maybe that's a good solution. Because there was one thing I knew. I mean, we could have just as well moved to Vienna, because Vienna, the situation, there's no need to move out. There's good welfare state, I had a high salary, I had a good life, so I had no economic reason to leave Vienna. The only thought I had is that maybe for a relationship, it's not easy if one is an immigrant and the other one is at home. That can be a burden sometimes. It's your country, it's your language, it's your friends, and the other one is the newcomer. I thought it would be the best for us if we both moved to a third place, to a new place where we both are equal. So I looked for jobs, and I worked for a big mobile communication provider at that time. And then I thought, okay, the only chance is to apply for the mobile communication provider in Norway. And then I saw a job which I thought, that's really interesting because it's in Norway, but it's about managing projects in Asia and in Serbia. And I'm like, I love Asia. I am so interested in Asia. I want to work with Asia, actually. And it's about working with Serbia. I speak Serbian. I used to work there. That's my job. And I sent one application to Norway. And then even it turned out that one colleague of mine I worked with in Vienna, she like, oh, I know that woman who's hiring. I'll give her a call, right? And so I got that job, right? Yeah. And suddenly I had a job offer and everything for a job in Oslo, which I thought is really interesting. And I thought, okay, let's try it. Let's move. And so we moved in 2013. I started my new job. First, actually, they sent me to work in Serbia, in Belgrade, for 3 months, which was an easy start because I was already there living with him. An amazing 3 months in Belgrade. And then we moved in September 2013. We finally packed all our suitcases and moved to Oslo and started our new life there.
Yeah, that's really that's cool. First, on the idea of your husband to move to Norway, you didn't want, you didn't.
Not at all.
Because what was your impression?
And it was quite a new relationship and very fragile, right? And after a couple of months, so I thought like, okay, I can't say no. You want to go to Oslo, just go, because I want to stay in Vienna. So I was very cautious. I remember he told me that he would like to look for new opportunities outside Serbia. And then I asked him, yeah, so where would you want to move? And then he said, probably Norway, because he had friends who already worked here. And my first reaction was, oh no, now I found this nice guy and I really want to be with him, but now he leaves.
He wants to go to
Norway. I really don't want to go to Norway. So I didn't say anything, I had a very bad feeling, but I didn't say anything, right? Because I thought it's not fair for me. It's too fresh. I can't now say, no, please, can we just go to Vienna? So I just shut up and said, okay, I'll wait and see. Let's see how this turns out. And then I kind of thought it's not fair from my side to just, if he has this plan and this wish, why would I just tell him, no, let's do something completely different? And then I know how hard it can be in Vienna for immigrants from the Balkan region, because you're part of the biggest immigration group. And if you have a Serbian name and you come to Vienna, it can be fine because there's a big group. It's like all social layers of the society. There's people from the Balkans. It's in Vienna, you would hear Serbian or Croatian or Bosnian on every street you walk.
Little Yugoslavia.
Yeah, Yugoslavia, very much. But it can also be very difficult because you can have a stigma as an immigrant, whereas I knew maybe this is different in Norway as an architect, because there's also more opportunities in architecture in the Nordics, and it's very interesting with a lot of building activity, and architecture has a very high value up here. So yeah, I thought I just support him, and then I sent this one application just by coincidence. And then that job was so interesting that I actually couldn't say no to the job. So the decision was done.
Yeah. Or you made the balance to make easier for yourself.
Yeah. So we moved, actually, it was his idea, but actually when we moved here, I had a job, he didn't. So that was interesting. So it was my job that brought us here, but it was his wish before.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, but a good combination for a couple, kind of, supporting each other in every way. But when you knew that you're moving to Norway, do you have any concerns or some things that thinking could be a problem?
Not at all, because I had traveled before, right? And so I think I was also very naive, because I remembered all my traveling or living abroad as an expat, where you still have a strong relationship to your hometown, and you're most of the time also employed back home or receive your salary from back home. And I was probably naive then in just moving to Norway, thinking, oh, this will be the same. But it is different if you move for real. And then you get into the system abroad, right? And so I probably underestimated that. And I also thought, okay, Austria, German-speaking country, Scandinavia, how different can that be? I could even read, when you're a German speaker and you read Norwegian or Swedish newspapers, you can pick up a lot of words because the languages are very similar. And I thought the difference can't be too big. But I was actually very wrong. The difference is quite big, even within Europe.
Yeah, and what are the differences that you are seeing or registering from the...
Yeah, so in the beginning it was hard to come here. So we came here, we found a very nice rental apartment from a couple that moved to Berlin for 3 months, and we said, perfectly, now we can move to Oslo for 3 months, and then we have a place and some time to look for a new place. So we came into this perfect apartment in Sankthanshaugen, and I started my new job with very nice colleagues, super interesting, working with countries in Asia. And the working language was English, so there was no need for me to learn Norwegian. First, I think it's very hard to move as a grown-up. We were in our late 30s and we had no kids. And I completely underestimated that, because before I was traveling a lot, but I was a bit younger. I had other colleagues who were also expats, or I studied. So you meet people at university. So I was just traveling, meeting people. And then I went to work. I had very nice colleagues. But of course, at 5 p.m. or 4:30, everyone says, I have to go home to my family. See you. And I was there. Who would now go out for a drink with me? Because in Serbia, where I worked before, in Austria, it's much more that maybe you hang out, you work longer hours, maybe you hang out after work. And I also had my bunch of friends who maybe did not have kids yet or had kids, but were also going out more. So we were very much alone. We moved in September, October, so it was winter. And we were just sitting home every afternoon. Yeah, and being alone and not knowing so many people yet. So that was hard. It's not easy because we are both very social types. We like to hang out with friends, having friends over. And now being a mom and having a small child, I see it myself. I don't have time after work. I have to pick up from kindergarten. You have to make dinner. So it's also the age group, of course.
Yeah,
is a big difference. And that probably is not specific to Norway. That would have been the same moving to Berlin, Paris, or anywhere else because it's hard to meet people. Yeah, just like this. The other thing was that people in Norway, I experienced people to be very open and very nice, extremely friendly, extremely interested in why we moved here. So it was a very positive experience. But of course, no one said, oh, come home, come to my place. Let's have a beer, go out. This took a long time until the first colleague asked me, you know what? Can you come to my place with another colleague? We cook something and we'll have wine. We have some glass of wine and have a chat. And that took us for sure 6 months before that happened. And I'm still grateful to this one girl about that. And I don't think that all the others, they didn't mean to be distant, but it takes time here in Norway until you get really acquainted with people.
Yeah, that's interesting. That it's so Norwegians are so open and curious in a way, but it really takes some time to.
I spoke about this with another friend who's also, she's half Norwegian, half foreign, and we had the same experience that we started our work, we started our jobs, and you sit in a huge open office. And it's very different from home because back home in Austria, people would come and say good morning and hi to everyone. You would ask everyone to go for lunch. You would chat with people much more and you would interact more. And then I came to the office here and people were just with their headphones and working. And then it would just go for lunch and sometimes not ask me to come along. And I think it took me a while to understand it's not because they don't like me. It's not because they don't think about me. It's because they don't want to disturb me because they thought I was working. And what it means being polite in Norway is very different from what it means being polite in Austria. And it was a very interesting discovery because I thought Germanic countries, so Nordics and Germany, Austria would be very different. But I would say in my experience now in Norway, you're not supposed to disturb people. So when you think someone's working, better not interrupt or disturb. So leave people alone, right? Leave people in their peace and they will come to you. They will ask you if they want something. Whereas in Austria, I would say it's the opposite. You have to ask people out. If you go for lunch, you have to ask all your colleagues, will you come with me? Who wants to be with us? And when you leave when I heard for the first time people just left without saying goodbye, I'm like, well, why did he just leave without saying goodbye? And then I was told, no, but why? He didn't want to disturb you. And then I said, yeah, it's very impolite not to say goodbye. And then the other colleague, it's very impolite to disturb you while you're working. So that was a very funny experience. I don't know if others experienced the same. And that was very important for me to understand. So it's not that I experienced people being distant, but actually they were not distant because they didn't like me or they were impolite. They were distant because they respected me and my individual space, and they wanted to be polite to me. And as soon as I understood that, and it took me a while, life in Norway got much better because then I also noticed I have to approach people much more and not just sit and wait that people approach me.
Yeah, that's the. I would say also that it's not there's a communicative but you need to take initiative. Otherwise, it can last for a long.
And then you have to take a lot of initiative. And then we came here and we were missing our friends. We were lacking new friends. And then it's what everyone here experienced. What everyone here experiences. The first people you meet are other foreigners, people who are in the same situation like you, right? And then you meet the first people and I think we were desperately looking for new friends, and sometimes it was so disappointing because you invest so much, you give so much in hanging out with new people, meeting new people, but it's not always a match, right? It's not everyone you meet is your new best friend. And I remember sometimes I thought like, this is so hard. It takes so much energy to just
To open up
land and because I was in Vienna, I had a huge group of friends. There was always something happening, so I was missing that. To be connected to lots of different people in society, to always be able to just call someone and go somewhere if I want to. So I was really missing that.
Not planning that socializing
exactly.
week.
And that's a very good point, Vedrana. It's so much planning, right? That whom can I meet? What can we do? And so it's a big investment you have to do if you move as a grown up.
But also, do you think that here I with my closest Norwegians, sometimes lacking the spontaneous. You know, that it's kind of as if we are set up different. That if it's not the work, so if it's not professional, where I'll be on time, exactly precise and everything. But when it comes to the socializing, let's have fun, let's go to the movie or anything, then not to be so planned, you know, month had when, what, where, that I still...
I said the same. I would have said the same, let's say 6 years ago. And now we're a couple with a 5-year-old child, 2 jobs and the child, and suddenly I've become the one. Yeah, in 3 weeks on that weekend, we can probably do something. Now I see it's us. Yeah, we've become this way. I'm not sure if it's about, I don't know, would it be so different in Vienna? I think it has also to do with the family situation. Yeah. Because 2 jobs, and in Norway, most people have 2 jobs. Yeah. And a child or 2 children or 3 even, like many of our friends here have. And in Norway, it's expensive to have help. So you don't have this army of babysitters, cleaners, and others to help you all the time. Most people I know, because they have their family in other parts of Norway, they do not have babysitters from the family. They do not have help at home.
Grandma, grandpa,
but most people don't have it here in Oslo, right? You have it somewhere else in Norway. So you basically lack time, and then your evenings are full. So I see it myself now that it's sometimes hard to organize something in advance, whereas, for example, in Serbia, when I lived there, I experienced people to be almost too spontaneous for me. It's like, let's have coffee now. I'm like, yeah, I want to do something different now, but okay, maybe in 2 days. But then you have a whole support system that manages your family life, yeah, which you don't have here. So I think it has to do a lot with that, the lack of spontaneity I also experienced in the beginning. Because now, I must say, also with our new Norwegian friends and where we live now, I experience it to be very spontaneous, actually.
Yeah. We are hearing more often, and I agree with that Norway is a really good country for kids, or raising the kids. What do you think about that?
Yes, it is. I thought a lot about that because coming from Austria, where there's no need to move from, we have a welfare state very comparable to the Norwegian one, if not even with a slightly better one when it comes to the healthcare system, actually. I had a good job. I earned exactly the money I earn here now, net, but prices are 50% higher here. So I actually made a very bad deal coming here economically. But I thought about it. So what's the difference? And it's children. I think it's easier being a parent. So before talking about children, I think the bigger difference is it's very easy to be a parent because what's unique here is the work-life balance we can have. Because in Austria, in the job I have, I'm a manager now in an insurance company. Before I worked for mobile communication. I would have to choose being a mother. Do I want to be a mother and work part-time? That's what most of my girlfriends also did in Austria when they had small children. Or do I want to work full-time, but then have my mom with me or have a babysitter? Because you would have meetings at 5 p.m. You're expected to work long hours, especially at management level. Here you have, I'd say, the perfect work-life balance. At 4:35, the office is empty because everyone's going home to their kids. And not only the women, it's also the dads go home to their kids because they want to be home, they want to eat middag, so the dinner together, and they want to spend quality time with their families. And that was a big change. And that's, I think, because I think Norwegian kids, as I see it, have much more access to their parents. Because I grew up with a dad who came home when I was in bed. And I think it's still normal for many families I know also now in Austria. Yeah, if you want to invest a lot in your career. Whereas here, we're 3 of us at home, we have a lot of time together, and it's totally manageable. So a child would probably, I love my job and I love to work. So my son has a happy mom because she can fulfill her career and have a fulfilled professional life, and I can be a mom. I can spend enough time with him. So that's a big difference here in Norway. And then the other thing I like when I look at Norwegian kindergarten, it's they invest a lot in this. When I see in other countries, or Austria, where I come from, maybe there would be 20 kids and 2 grown-ups. I don't know exactly, but that's what I imagine it to be. But in Norway, you would have 1 grown-up for 3 kids when they're at the youngest age. And they're very caring, and they're sitting on the laps and they're reading together. It's not so much education or schoolage, it's just caring and loving.
The most important.
Yeah, and that's really nice. And another thing I really appreciate here is that equality is such an important value in Norway. And I see my son grows up with this value from the beginning, that it doesn't matter if you're a boy or a girl, it doesn't matter where you come from. And of course it matters where you come from. We all know about social problems that exist and the challenges we have with immigration. But the values he gets is everyone's equal and everyone has the same chances and everyone has to be treated the same way and no one's different. And I think that's a beautiful value here. And I really started appreciating this in Norway. So it's a perfect place to grow up.
When it comes to the identity thing, how you feel, where's your home or what's your home, or how you think that your kid is born here and what kind of identity he will.
I thought about this a lot, especially when I had a baby here, because my home is Vienna and will always be. I've been born there, raised there, went to school, studied there, and I started traveling or working abroad when I was older. So my roots and that's where I come from. And my whole family is from Austria. So there's no doubt. I like Norway a lot, and Oslo started becoming my home. That started maybe 2-3 years ago. I had a time where I was very homesick, actually, and thought I really want to go, but I miss Vienna so much, and I miss my friends so much, and the lifestyle in Vienna, because it's exhausting to come here and build up everything from new. But now I see I'm very fond of Norway and Oslo, and maybe the whole Corona and COVID-19 thing helped because we couldn't travel as much as we wanted to. Yeah. So we really even got to know the place even better than before. So it's the place where I live now. I love it very much, but my home is Vienna and my roots. But when it comes to my kid, that's very different. He's born here and that's his home. He doesn't know anything else. That's our apartment, our part of the city. That's where home is, right? And Norwegian is his language. That's what he says also. And he spoke Norwegian words from kindergarten before he spoke German words. He started actively speaking German with me when he was 3 years old. Yeah. Whereas the first Norwegian words came for sure when he was 2. And Serbian, so I speak German to him. My husband speaks Serbian to him and he understands everything, but he answers in Norwegian. My husband and I still speak English to each other because that's how we met. So we are the crazy family. When people see us on the metro and I speak German, he answers in German, then the other one speaks Serbian, he answers in Norwegian, then we speak in English, people just turn around and stare at us. And I know it's because they really want to figure out where we come from. So it's totally possible to have 4 languages around a dinner table with 3 people. It's totally possible and we don't even notice. And I think that's just beautiful. But of course, I thought a lot about my son and what is his identity going to be? Where is he Norwegian? But we don't speak Norwegian at home. His Norwegian will never, ever be as fluent as the Norwegian of our neighbor child who has Norwegian parents, who have the dialects from home, who grew up here, and it's you learn a language in a different way if you speak Norwegian at home as well, right?
Yeah.
And he has Norwegian in kindergarten, and at home he doesn't have it. On the other hand, his German will never ever be as Austrian or Viennese as my German. Because, of course, his grammar is not perfect now with 5 years. Totally normal because he has 3 languages, or even 4, and not only 1. So I thought about this a lot, but I think, you know what? His identity is exactly that he belongs to all places, and that it's actually, I need to forget this ambition of his Norwegian needs to be as perfect as of a Norwegian child. His Austrian German needs to be as perfect as of a child in Vienna, and probably his Serbian as perfect as of a Belgrade child. This is not possible, and this can't be true. And you know what? It doesn't matter, because his identity is exactly what it is. His Norwegian, Austrian, Serbian mix. And that's fine. And I think it will make his life richer rather than being a disadvantage.
I totally agree.
But again, and here's the difference maybe. We have in Oslo, we have a German-Norwegian school. I registered him there and I want him to go there because then he will get the best of both worlds, right? He'll have Norwegian education a bit and German as well, so he can choose when he's older. And he'll have lots of classmates. All of his classmates probably in the same position. They have at least bilingual parents, probably parents from 2 different countries. And so he'll grow up in this world, which I think is beautiful. And then again, growing up in Norway, being a German speaker, it will never be seen as a disadvantage. I think our story is very different from a family coming here from Africa or Asia, speaking a language that doesn't have a value in Europe like German has, and going to a Norwegian school. So it's a very different situation.
How often you are going home?
Often. So Christmas would be Austria, because we have other international friends who always have to choose for Christmas. We are lucky we have 2 Christmases. We have the Austrian Catholic Christmas on the 24th. That's when we're in Austria. Then we have the Orthodox Christmas on the 6th of January, where we usually are in Norway because of work. So that's a bit stupid that we share holidays with Austria, but not with Serbia. That's a challenge in spending the holidays in Serbia. So, but Christmas, Easter, and summer would be always spent in either Austria or Serbia. So we have to see our son needs to see his grandparents. He has cousins in Austria he's very fond of. And then I would always do a couple of weekends in the middle. So usually I'd say 3-4 times per year, at least. It's a 2-hour flight.
Yeah, it's a really short distance. But do you see yourself staying for good, living in Norway?
I don't know. A lot of people ask that. It's funny. It's a question you get from the first day here. I'm like, what? I don't know.
Are you staying for good?
Yeah. It's if you had told me 10 years ago, Johanna, you're going to be married to a Serbian and live and work in a Norwegian insurance, I would say having a son who speaks Norwegian as a first language, I'd have said, are you crazy? That's not me. So after all this happened, I know it's just not possible to make plans. So we simply don't know. 3 years ago, I'd have said probably no way. I will do the work here for a couple of years and then probably move back to Austria. But with every year you live here, it becomes more and more home. And it's also the home of my child. So things change. But when I retire, if I live here in Austria or somewhere completely different, who knows? So that's a question that can't be answered.
Yeah, can't see in the future. Is there anything that you can say that, I totally adopt that, I took that from Norwegians? Say, I when I moved here, I accept that. And it became part of me.
I think what I would like to adopt is the Norwegian way of listening to others and never to interrupt people when they talk, because I think that's a beautiful value here, that you're not supposed to interrupt anyone. But I'm an extrovert, Central European. I'm just still talking far too much, interrupting people, asking questions. So this is something I want to work on. adopting. But one thing I for sure adopted, and I notice it, is a bit of patience in daily life. I remember when I took the bus to my first employer outside Oslo, and then people were queuing up at the bus door, and the bus door was broken. And nobody was screaming at the bus driver, open the door or nothing. People were just standing silently waiting because it will be solved. And then eventually the door opened and they left the bus. And I thought like, oh, how stupid. Why does nobody say anything? And I got really impatient. I like, open the door. And now I notice myself, I can stand in line and wait and think, yeah, it will solve. I just have to wait a bit. So this patience in daily life, I think it's nice. And it's not good for your health to be always so excited. And I notice it when I'm in a supermarket, because in Austria or in Vienna, you're in a supermarket, and when there's at least 3 people waiting in line in front of you, people would start shouting loud, open the cashier. That's what we do in Vienna, and it would be unthinkable here to do that, right?
Yeah.
And I noticed that when I'm back home, I'm like, I changed. I'm just waiting and think it will be fine. Come on, relax. They will open it. So that's something I really adopted, I think. Patience in daily life. I became very fond of all the Christmas traditions in Norway. Other traditions. I think it also has to do with having a child here, because through kindergarten you adopt all the traditions. So that's something I got very fond of. But it's not so different from Austria, so it's very easy to adopt. Outdoor life has a big value. It has a big value in Austria as well, but I think that has an even bigger value here, and that's also something I got very fond of. So I could not imagine anymore living in a big city without being in a forest regularly or just being outdoor. So that's something I also got very fond of. And this closeness to nature that people have here in Norway, that's beautiful.
Johanna, tell me, when you felt that this is your home, or starting to be, or you are calling Oslo your home?
Yeah, now it's Vienna is of course my home, but it's also my home. It's the place where I live. It's I think only people like us understand the concept that you can have 2 homes. It took a while, and there are 2 things I think that started making me feel more at home here. One thing is having a child whose home it is, because you relate to the home of your child. And because of kindergarten and friends from kindergarten, I made also more Norwegian friends, new friends with whom I spoke Norwegian from the beginning, and not just other expats, right? Because you're always in a bubble, in the expat bubble in the beginning, if you get to know other foreigners. So that was a big part. And the other part was when I changed jobs 2 years ago, from international business environment that I came here for, to a very Norwegian job. And that was the best decision I took, because before I had an interesting job, but I was traveling all the time. I was in Thailand, Malaysia, Myanmar. I was in Serbia a lot. My colleagues were English speaking, so I was in this international business bubble 8 hours a day, and not in Oslo, right? And then sometimes I was working more with people abroad who sit in other countries than with colleagues in Oslo. So professionally, I never really landed here. And then I changed to a very Norwegian job for a Norwegian insurance. And it's great. I have amazing colleagues who were genuinely interested in where I come from. And I even made very good friends in that company. And I was, instead of traveling to Thailand, I'm now traveling to Bergen. Yeah. And I love it. And that helped me a lot to land here, to have Norwegian colleagues, Norwegian friends at work, to be connected to lots of local people. And I think that's important. Just to live here and being connected to people abroad is not enough. For me, for some people maybe it is. For some people an apartment or a place or the nature around is important enough. I'm a person, most important to me are people and connections. And now with lots of connections to people in Norway, having lots of Norwegian friends from different places of Norway, I feel connected to this place and to the people here and their history. And also living in Oslo now for 7 years almost, now we come to a place when we meet new people and then suddenly we have mutual friends or acquaintances. It's a small place, right? This can happen after 7 years. And that's what I need in order to feel at home, that I feel connected to the people.
Unfortunately, we have come to the end of this episode. Johanna, thank you very much for being with us today. It was a really interesting story, and I'm really glad every person coming here brought us kind of some new thoughts, and I really enjoyed listening and thinking about new things I heard. So thank you very much being with us, and welcome again to the Norwegian Newcomers family.
Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you for listening. You can find us on our homepage, norwegiannewcomers.com, Instagram and Facebook page, and we also have a Patreon page where you can support us and get episodes earlier than everyone else, plus some behind-the-scenes content. Bye-bye.